so special about what's going on? What do we see here?
Sure.
So it's not your ordinary roof.
No, it's not your ordinary roof, it's not your ordinary building. It's a very sustainable green building. It meets the city's standards for LEED Gold buildings. So all buildings the city builds now have to meet at least the LEED Gold certification. And that is what this building does. So it's more energy efficient. It uses a lot of natural light, a lot of natural ventilation, and it manages stormwater on site. So that's part of what you're seeing here is the stormwater management system has a green roof. The rain that's collected on the roof is brought over to a passive treatment system. We don't have to collect it and treat it anywhere. It's treated right on site.
Tell me about these metal fins here. What is that doing there?
Well, that's for, we want to have as much glass to let as much natural light into the building so we don't use as much energy to light space. But at certain times of the year, the angle of the sun would come in and make the workspace too hot. So they have these louvers to break up the heat of the sun, the direct penetration of the sun into the building.
Okay. And then why the different angles of a roof here?
Well, again, they wanted to, just a complete flat roof would not allow you to get as much light exposure into the conference rooms and workspaces. So you really should talk to the architect about exactly why they chose that design. But they knew that the objective was to get as much natural light into the building so we could save money and save energy.
Gotcha. So I don't understand, how is it that this building design saves $2.5 million a year?
No, it doesn't save $2.5 million a year, but over the next 40 years, we ask them to do a life cycle cost. Compare building this building versus bringing in several new modulars and then bringing in new modulars when those fail, because modulars don't last as long as this. And so we ask them to do that life cycle cost. And this turns out to be much more cost effective, the equivalent of about $2.5 million over the next 40 years. This building will last 100 years. We have a biosolids truck coming out here, so they're on their way to the Pendleton area with.
That's probably when I was standing out in this at a wind farm. I'm like, what's that smell? And I go, it smells kind of sweet. The guy goes, you put molasses? And the guy's like, that's human. I'm like, oh, not molasses. Okay.
Well, it's biosolids. It's been processed, and it's the solid material that you can incinerate it, you can put it in a landfill, or you can put it on agricultural land, and it takes the place of fertilizer. And so we have farmers and ranchers in Eastern Oregon that are putting that to use and growing canola, which is turned into fuel, which is used as a biofuel by Portlanders.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect sustainable circle.
All right, I don't know how much that rig drowned out your sound. So you're saying that over 40 years lifetime, you're saying over 40 years this building will save taxpayers $2.5 million.
Right. The comparison was, do you go back to the modulars? Do you put our engineering staff back in modular buildings that only have a certain life expectancy because they're modulars? They're brought in here on wheels and they're plopped down on a bunch of cinder blocks. Or do you put them into a real building? And I asked him, so this building's going to last at least 100 years, but just give me the next 40 years. Compare the cost. And they went through the analysis of building a building or putting modulars in, and building this building over the next 40 years will save ratepayers of Portland $2.5 million.
Gotcha. Are you okay with your back? Because I'd like to keep going as long as you're okay.
Yeah, keep going.
All right. So here's the big question. The city keeps asking ratepayers for more money. The city says they don't have enough money for the roads, made people cut budgets. Is it really wise to build a $7.5 million building? And it comes out to, with 38 employees, it's $214,000 per employee.
Well, you have to really look at what the work they do here is for. We have $12 billion of assets in environmental services is in charge of. They have to be constantly brought up to date, modernized, reinvested. We have 97 pump stations we have to work on at least 2 pump stations a year to modernize them every year, just to keep up. Otherwise we fall behind and the pump stations fail, and then we have sewage leaking all over the ground or into the river. We can't have that. We're totally regulated by EPA and the state DEQ. We have to meet very strict water quality standards. So we have to constantly be upgrading these facilities.
But couldn't you do that in a $1 million building, a $500,000 building?
Well, this is the building that is best suited for the work they do. It is not a lavish facility. It is these are the key components. It'd be like saying, well, your ER docs, couldn't they work out of a trailer? No. When you go to the hospital, you expect them to be professionally equipped and outfitted to do their work. So they have the latest technology and the latest communications equipment right here, so they can be very efficient at what they do.
But couldn't they do that without all the fancy roofs and the louvers and all the windows? I mean, when you're asking people who are on fixed income to part with more money out of their pocketbooks, and then you're building a building like this, it seems like you could be more, do it cheaper.
Well, you're talking about cheap. We're talking about value. The ratepayers are getting the best value for this building. It's a very sustainable building. So we spend less money on energy, less money on heat. It's very efficient the way it's used. It's all up to the latest technology for improved communication. So from an efficiency standpoint, the ratepayers are getting the best value with this building.
When are you guys going to have your grand opening? Invite the public to come see it.
We're going to be working, you've met Pam Arden from the Kenton neighborhood. We're going to be working with the neighborhood to have something go on here this spring.
It seems kind of odd to me because whenever the city opens up a new building, they have a grand opening, they let us know, send out a press release. This has been kept very quiet. You can find almost very little information about it when you do a Google search. It's very hard to find out about this building.
Well, they won't after you've been here and do your story.
Right, but
as I said, we've been working with the local community, and we intend to have an event here later this spring.
Has there been any attempt to keep this quiet?
No. We're very proud of this. This is again, the latest technology. These people in this building are designing the facilities to make sure that the Columbia, the Willamette, the Columbia Slough are all clean water. They have clean water. And everybody's proud in Portland about the green reputation we have. And that they're proud to say that we're cleaning up the Willamette, we're cleaning up the Columbia. And this is where the engineering and the design work is done to do that.
Which is a great job, but I think people at home who are on fixed incomes, who are struggling to make it, are going to scratch their heads and wonder if you could not have done this in a cheaper building.
Well, again, you keep using the term cheaper, and I keep talking about value. And so they're getting the most value for this. We've done the analysis. It saves ratepayers money. So I don't think it's appropriate to put highly paid technical engineers, technicians, designers, and have them work in a tent.
So this was approved by a city council that was under a different mayor.
Yes.
I think there's only 2 members of the city. No, there's 3. Fish, Saltzman, and
Fritz.
Fritz
Mm-hmm.
voted for this.
Mm-hmm. The price per square foot of this building is totally comparable with other buildings. This is not an exorbitant price.
$214,000 per employee? You could build each employee a house.
Well, yeah, that's great. When you go to the operating room, you could say that too. But this is a technical building with engineers and designers in it. What I'm talking about is the cost per square foot of this building is completely comparable to other buildings, and we will give you the comps so you can look at them yourself.
How do you, there's a move right now to take control of environmental services and the Water Bureau away from the city. How do you communicate with the public that you folks are being good stewards of the money?
Well, it's always a challenge for public agencies because we get criticized if we toot our own horn. We get criticized for spending ratepayers' money for bragging. And then we get criticized because we don't tell people where the money is spent. So we're trying to walk that fine line of communicating with our customers to let them know how we're investing their money and that we're doing it smart and we're being efficient and cost effective with their money. I think if you take some time and look around this facility It's a very modern, up-to-date facility. It's not lavish. It gets the job done in the most cost-effective way for the ratepayers. That's what we're proud of.
One of the articles I read, it was an architecture magazine. It's hard to find. It said, and I don't think they know what they're talking about from a look at it, it said the roofs actually move to accommodate the sunlight and the airflow. Is that true?
Well, I think maybe they're talking about some of the louvers. I don't think the roofs move, but we can ask Randy in a minute. He would know that.
I don't see any way that they would possibly move. I don't think the person who wrote the article knew what they were talking about.
No, we can ask him.
Okay. Is there anything we're missing here that I should be asking you?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think you've asked all the right questions. I think what's key for people to know is that what goes on in this building is of central importance to what they expect us to do. They expect us to collect all the waste that's generated in the city, bring it here, treat it, and discharge water that's clean to the Willamette and the Columbia River. We do that. And you don't do that by accident. We have very technical, professional people here doing that. We also have a campus with 100 acres and over $1 billion of assets we need to protect. It's very valuable equipment and people. And so part of this project was to provide greater security for the campus and control over the public access. So it solved multiple issues for us.
Gotcha. Dean, just for our records, what's your last name?
Sure. Marriott, M-A-R-R-I-O-T-T.
And what's your title?
I'm the Director of Environmental Services.
I just want to make sure.
I have a card I can give you.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you can if you want, but
Oh.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's a tough spot because cities want. I know Portland wants to be a leader in showing people whatever you think it is, and then there's the sewage house. I just think people get really frustrated. The Water Bureau says it's only going to cost each ratepayer less than $1. I think people get really frustrated that the city doesn't seem to want to tighten its belt when everybody else has to, and then they say, woe is me, we're short $25 million here.
Well, this has nothing to do with the city's finances. This is a revenue bureau, so I send you a utility bill and you pay it, and that's where we get our resources.
Right, it's still money out of people's pockets.
I understand that, but it has nothing to do with what the...
Right, the sewer bills is skyrocketing.
The sewer bills are not skyrocketing. The sewer bills are going to probably go up 4% next year.
Right, but because of the big pipe project, people have pay some of the highest sewer rates in the country.
They're not. They're not the highest sewer rates in the country.
Well, there's some of them, aren't they?
Well,
they're pretty high up there,
we're now finished with the CSO program.
The Water Bureau goes, it's not us, it's environmental services. That's what people are freaking about their bills.
Well, we're 2/3 of the bill.
Right.
Yeah, right. But if you look at what other cities are doing, Atlanta, Philly, Cleveland, Washington, D.C., Seattle, they're just getting going on their CSO fix.
Right, so theirs will jump up and you guys will fall down the...
We're going to be drifting lower and lower on that comparable, and do I feel great about the fact that our utility bills are a challenge for some people? No, of course not. But we were given a mission. The mission is to protect public health and to clean up the Willamette, and we've done that. And we've done it sooner than most other cities in the country. So we're having to pay for that. We borrowed a lot of the money to pay for that. So we're having to pay off the bonds on that. It's like taking out a mortgage.
Right.
So people need to know that they made this investment and we finished that project, a 20-year capital project, on time and on budget. And you almost never hear anything about that. It's like, well, that was yesterday. What are you doing for me today?
Yeah,
people
are strapped. People don't have any money. I mean, I was just talking yesterday to DHS, and they have so little control or handle on fraud because they're just trying to get people money. It's like, desperate person.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this fraud is happening because they don't have the staff to investigate the fraud. They're trying to help people, with kids and stuff. And so
I know. Of course we know.
Does it give?
Yeah. Well, and a sizable number of ratepayers in Portland take advantage of the low-income discount. And it is provided for people who qualify. So we're very aware that is a challenge for people.